Coming up, Kazakhstan sees a decrease in coronavirus cases. How did the health ministry manage to take the situation under control? More details in the next few minutes. When will the harvest campaign complete in Kazakhstan? How did the drought and water shortage affect the harvest this year? Stay tuned to learn more. Fairy tales and legends of the Great Steppe in comics. Find out how the epics Yenlik Jibek, Yestai Korlan Zhubaktas were adapted to the modern format. Kazakhstan is ready to cooperate with Turkic countries in providing assistance to Afghanistan. Kazakh Foreign Minister Mukhtar Tuluberdi stated this at an extraordinary meeting of the Cooperation Council of Turkic-speaking states. He said that Kazakhstan continues to contribute to international efforts to stabilize the situation in Afghanistan, primarily in the humanitarian sphere and under the central coordinating role of the UN. In addition, the participants noted the need to monitor the further development of the situation, taking into account the risks of the spread of terrorism, illicit arms and drug trafficking, migration and refugee flows. At the end of the conference, the states adopted a joint statement. The Turkic-speaking countries expressed their intention to enhance cooperation across the whole spectrum of issues amid the global challenges of our time. This was reflected in the Turkestan Declaration adopted at the end of the 10th plenary session of the Parliamentary Assembly of Turkic-speaking countries. Implementation of the presidential package of political reforms in Kazakhstan, strengthening of security and combating the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic are among the most important items of the document. A 5-year plan for further work on model laws within TURKPA was also presented. One of the first laws to be adopted is the law on cybersecurity. It is planned to use the Turkestan television channel to develop cultural and humanitarian cooperation. The next meeting of the TURKPA will be held in 2022 in Kyrgyzstan. The epidemiological situation in Kazakhstan is stabilizing. To date, only 2 metropolises and 3 regions are in the red zone. 1,790 people were infected with coronavirus in the last day. The city of Almaty had the biggest number of cases. 413 people caught infection there, plus 183 cases were recorded in Kazakhstan's capital. Karaganda region comes third with 175 infected patients. Since the beginning of the pandemic, the total number of COVID-19 cases has exceeded 880,000. The coronavirus vaccination campaign is well underway in the country. According to the latest data, over 6,452,000 people in Kazakhstan have received both components of the vaccine. Coronavirus is receding. The incidence of the dangerous infection in Kazakhstan has declined by 36% in 2 weeks, said Kazakh Health Minister Alexey Tsoy at the government's meeting. According to him, the number of fatalities decreased as well, comparing to the mid-September when the death rate was almost 3 times higher than it is now.
За последний месяц количество заболевших.
The number of infected people per day has declined 3.6 times over the past months. Also, there is a decrease in the number of patients who receive inpatient treatment by 2.4 times, from 25,000 on August 27th to 10,500 on September 27th. The number of patients receiving outpatient care has decreased by 1.7 times, from 89,000 to 51,000.
50 до 51 тысячи больных.
Since August 1st, Kazakhstan has seen a reduction of burden on beds in infectious hospitals. 57 COVID-19 hospitals were closed in the country. To date, there are 4 regions in the green zone, including Jambul, Kızılırda, Mangistau and Turkestan regions. Harvest pace in Kazakhstan this year is higher than last year, and the quality of the harvest is the best in 5 years, announced first Kazakh Vice Minister of Agriculture Aydarbek Saparov during a briefing. According to him, the harvesting campaign in the country is almost 98% completed. In general, the forecasted volume of gross harvest of grain and oilseeds should amount to about 18 million tons.
Что касается урожая, то в текущем году посевная площадь 23 миллиона гектар.
Speaking of harvest, this year the cultivated area amounted to 23 million hectares, which is 322,000 hectares more than last year. According to operational data to date, 15.5 million hectares or 97.9% of cereals and legumes has been harvested in the country. The average yield is 9.7 centers per hectare. 15 million tons of grain, including 11.7 million tons of wheat, were threshed. Also, vegetables, potatoes, melons, oilseeds, and cotton are currently being harvested. In general, in Kazakhstan, harvesting of cereals and legumes should be completed next week, if weather and climatic conditions permit.
В целом, по Казахстану уборочные работы зерновых и зерноуборочных должны завершиться на следующей неделе, если позволят погодно-климатические условия.
According to the speaker, this year has been hard for the agricultural sector of Kazakhstan. There were difficulties due to the heat waves. Similar dry conditions were seen not only in Kazakhstan, but also in world grain states such as Canada, the United States, and Russia. The country managed to avoid the consequences and timely start harvesting thanks to the provision of agrarians with necessary resources. Among them are financing, fuels and lubricants, machinery, spare parts, seeds, and plant protection products. This year, 128 projects totaling 1.2 trillion tenge will be commissioned within the framework of the Industrialization Map in Kazakhstan, the country's government announced. This will result in an increase in production by 1 trillion tenge, exports by $800 million, and the creation of nearly 12,000 jobs. New vacancies will appear in such fields as food and light industries, production of building materials, metallurgy, mechanical engineering, and energy. Among the most important projects in 2021 are the modernization of the Joly mining and concentrating complex and the construction of concentrating factory there, the construction of the Sararka ferro-alloy plant, and much more.
Жобаларды іске қосу жағынан Қарағанды, Алматы облыстары және Шымкент.
There is positive dynamics in the commissioning of projects in Karaganda, Almaty regions, and Shymkent city. The same work should be strengthened in another 7 regions, which are Aktobe, Akmola, Kızılırda, Pavlodar, and Turkestan regions, as well as the cities of Nur-Sultan and Almaty. I instruct mayors and governors to personally control the implementation of each project and ensure their commissioning by the end of the year. President of Kazakhstan Kassym-Jomart Tokayev in his State of the Nation address set a task to increase the export of manufacturing industry by 1.5 times and labor productivity by 30% by 2025. This is what the timely and high-quality implementation of the Industrialization Map project should ensure. Gas production in Kazakhstan will increase by 40% in the next 10 years. According to experts' estimates, the country will produce at least 70 billion cubic meters of gas per year. Half of it will be returned to the reservoir. It is done in order to maintain the reservoir pressure of the fields. Of the 27 billion cubic meters of processed gas, more than 17 billion are supplied to the domestic market, with the rest being exported. Overall, gas consumption has increased in recent years. Over the past 5 years, the use of commercial gas in Kazakhstan has increased by 63%. The oil industry of Kazakhstan will not fully recover until 2023. By this time, the country will be producing an additional 12 million tons of oil per year, experts say. According to Olzhas Baydildinov, the increase in production is observed mainly in large projects. He considers the current market prices to be too high. The expert believes that this is largely an achievement of the OPEC Plus countries, which are now taking advantage of the situation and actively extracting oil. So are non-cartel manufacturers. Kazakhstan has been increasing its oil production since spring and summer. Thanks to the efforts of the government and the relevant ministry, Kazakhstan has defended its position, and now we, together with Russia, are increasing production, and the OPEC Plus have agreed to this. Kazakhstan is ready not only to accept investments, but also to protect them on the world stage, which is a very positive factor. In addition, Baydildinov says that the market may collapse at any moment. In his opinion, with current world demand, the comfort price should still be at around $60 per barrel.
При этом говорить о том, что на нас обрушиваются какие-то фантастические сверхдоходы.
At the same time, we cannot say that we are making fantastic profits. It's just not true. The thing is that we are now producing less oil than we did in the past 2 years. More precisely, it's a little bit more than in 2020, but less than in 2019. That's why it's not entirely correct to say that our oil industry has recovered and is prepared for the same revenues and taxes as in the past. An exhibition dedicated to the 30th anniversary of Kazakhstan's independence entitled Gold of the Great Steppe opened in the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge, the United Kingdom. It displays unique exhibits of Scythian civilization and finds from the Sakha burial mounds. These are the tribes that dominated in Central Asia from the 8th to 3rd centuries BC, in particular in the Altai Mountains on the territory of modern Kazakhstan. Visitors will also be presented with about 100 archaeological finds from 3 different burial grounds. These are the famous burials Shilikte and Yelike Sazı. One of the most valuable exhibits is the Golden Man.
This is a really extraordinary opportunity to show Britain and indeed the world a culture that's only just beginning to emerge. And I think it's an extraordinary moment to be able to rewrite a history of the world because of this material that's coming out of the ground now. So what's exciting to be able to do in Cambridge is to be able to show not just the works themselves, but also the archaeological process and expertise that is happening in Kazakhstan.
Kazakh archaeologists, together with their British counterparts, are currently studying the artifacts found in the mounds. Scientists from the MacDonald Institute for Archaeological Research at the University of Cambridge are uncovering the secrets of unique finds using state-of-the-art technology.
Мы будем делать такой микроанализ такой.
We will be doing microanalysis. We have very powerful microscopes through which we will be able to see what technologies were used and find out how such things were made.
Там можно узнать, как люди все сделали такие вещи.
It is the first time when such unique gold artifacts are presented in Europe. The British media have already called them an international archaeological sensation. The exhibition will run until January 30th next year. A series of fairy tales and legends of the Great Steppe adapted to comic book format was presented in Nur-Sultan. Yenlik Kebek, Yestai Korlan, Kozakurpesh Bayan Sulu, Jumbaktas, Aisha Bibi, Shaitankul and Balkhash are among them. The modern format of the illustrated comic strips tells stories that have been passed down from generation to generation and have survived to the present day. The comic books are aimed at the general public and were published in 2 languages, Kazakh and Russian. In the near future, they will be published in English as well. The project is aimed at attracting the attention of the younger generation to the country's cultural heritage.
Бұл комикстеріміз жаңа өздеріңіз жақсы білесіздер. Мысалы Еңлік Кебек, Қоз көрпеш, Баян сұлу деген сияқты.
These comics were created on the basis of the famous love stories Yenlik Kebek and Koza Korpesh Bayan Sulu. The comic strip series includes 7 stories of the Great Steppe about great love. We worked with these famous stories. These legends have been revised by our specialists, including the epic Alpamız Batır, which consists of 80 or 90 pages, in order to present them briefly in a language understood by the younger generation. The project also involved talented artists who portrait young heroes. The comic books have been published in 2 languages.
Суретшілері оны жаңа мазмұнын оқып отырып, әдемілеп, әсемдеп, сурет салады. Соны біз міне комикс кәдімгі кітапша ретінде шығарып отырмыз.
In addition to the comic book presentation, a unique photo exhibition was presented at the event.